Tracy Anderson. I work for WeSC, which is short for We Are the Superlative Conspiracy. My career has sort of been between brands and media. I've worked for magazines, I've had my own magazine, so it's sort of been between marketing and media and the fine line between the two.
My name is Greg Rivera. I'm one of the co-owners and president of Mishka, brand out of Brooklyn. As artists and designers, we just wanted to bring something fresh to the industry.
Eric Lavoie, partner at Vice, been there for 16 years. I started off at Vice as an intern, something that I wanted to do when I was studying, or I was going to business school in Montreal. Usually if there's a larger company that's working with smaller companies, smaller agencies, smaller brands, just smaller anything, in my experience they're looking for, usually they're looking for original ideas.
What a larger company wants is street credibility. They want what they can't have because they're too large, they're too much of a bureaucracy, they're too corporate.
Generally, if they're working with a smaller company, it's probably because that company has their pulse on a certain demographic or a certain audience that they want to reach.
If we can do that for them, for a larger company, then what we bring them is something that is true to the categories that we work within, the spaces, whether it's skateboarding, whether it's street art. So we bring them a piece of authenticity.
That's usually, the top line, like the undermining premise as to why they want to go with a smaller company.
Initiating the connection is always like, it's one of the hardest things, because if you just cold call someone or shoot an email with a deck with like your proposal and your idea of what you'd like to do, it's a lot harder and it takes a lot more work than if you know somebody.
You really want to try to focus on either somebody who's in marketing or brand management.
It can be like calling the brand and just asking for like the marketing person or whoever it is, whatever your project is, whatever the relevant person is, whether it's the art director, the marketing person, the creative director, who knows.
The cold call is, the most effective way. You need to do a little bit of research, you need to figure out who it is that you're talking to, you need to find out a little bit about them.
And obviously, if you go to any, if there's events like, a party or an event that a brand that somebody's throwing that you wanna work on,
or if you have a friend of a friend of a friend who can recommend you, anytime that you can touch someone through your business network or social network, whatever it is, wherever it is that you're doing your thing and getting to know people, that's gonna be where you're ultimately gonna find your path, your in. So persistency, or knowing the right person, or knowing a person who knows the right person, in the end, persistency and like sticking with it, someone will hear you out.
The types of questions you should be asking them is like, where can I see examples of, past work that you've done that relates to what I do? I mean, if you're an experiential agency, you want to see, where are the case studies from the events that they've done? If you're a content creation company, where are examples of branded content that they've created? And you just want to find places that you can actually watch and see, or get a better understanding as to what they've done historically, so that you can line that up with what it is that you can do, and then position yourself as being, ideally a better solution to what they've done in the past.
You need to be able to talk the talk with the brand and understand what projects they've done in the past, be familiar with them, be familiar with the current direction and how your project, whatever that is, will fit into that context.
If you're a smaller company, you're trying to contact a bigger company, I mean, you should have a sort of plan of action. I mean, you should have some sort of idea of what you want to do with them and why they would want to work with you. You know, you don't want to just sort of go and be like, hey, we should do something.
Once you're in touch with the right person, you really probably don't want to spend too much time asking them questions. I mean, chances are, like, if you are talking to, you know, a decision maker or the person that you want to actually be speaking to, you should be beyond the question period.
For them, there's no appeal to that. You would need to come to them and say, well, this is what I want to do, this is why we should do it. Having somebody in your organization that can put together a proper deck or a proper proposal, you know, that has a professional feel to it, and it's very clear on who you are, what you are, and what you're trying to do. I think as far as mistakes that you can be made, I mean, there's a couple things. I mean, I think one of the biggest mistakes is that this company, to think that this company would want to work with you. Even if it's a multi-million-dollar company, you know, it doesn't mean that they are going to have that kind of money to go into this to do this sort of project with you. So, you know, you might create this sort of deck and this idea that you're pitching, and, you know, the last page is you're like, we need 50 grand to do this. And, you know, all of a sudden that's like a huge turnoff.
I would recommend leaving the dollar amount off and having that in a personal sort of either face-to-face or over the phone discussion, or follow up it with emails. Don't just throw that in there as like, this is what it's gonna cost when you're hitting up people that know how to produce events.
You want to be prepared. I think being prepared is the most professional thing you can do.
Do your research, do your homework, you know who you're talking to, and know how it is that you fit within their overall, you know, plan as best as you possibly can.
You have to stay committed to your word and do what you're gonna say and come through and meet the deadlines and, you know, do a kick-ass job, and then you're gonna keep getting work.
I think patience is also a level of professionalism, especially as a smaller company, you know, dealing with the bigger companies, that you have to understand that there's a lot of stuff going on.
The biggest mistakes that you can make, you know, when approaching a brand or a company to work with you is, in my opinion, just not having a real clear understanding as to who it is that you're talking to.
If you can't just take a minute and make sure that, like, you have, like, you know, you don't even have to put periods, just like spell like everything right for the most part, you know? Also, like, people will send out emails and then they'll never follow up. You never hear from them again. Follow-up is huge. It's really important that there's someone that's really going to be a driving force for making that project, that collaboration, whatever it is, come to fruition.
So you have to be willing to compromise, and if you're not willing to compromise, then you need to sort of say so in the beginning so you're not wasting anyone else's time.
A lot of these relationships are built off of, you know, personal relationships. Like, you have to have a good relationship with that person. Like, you coming at them with a great idea, like, if you don't have some sort of connection, you know, be it, you know, just based off, you know, the ideas, the shared passion for certain things that you have, or just emotional, where you can actually hang out with this person.
With deciding who you're gonna go with, it shouldn't be about like, oh, this company's large, this company's small. It should be about, this makes sense for what I'm doing.
It really depends on what you're trying to get out of it. You know, if you're working for, if you know that there's a certain car company or an energy drink company that gives money for parties and you want to throw a party, obviously it makes sense that you contact them because you know they have a reputation of, you know, giving money to events or promotion or those kind of things.
It's a double-edged sword as well. Like, you know, you go after that brand that is, you know, known for working with young, creative, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you know, all you guys. that's great. You'll probably have a much easier time getting to the decision maker, present them what you're doing. However, the competition is going to be a lot stiffer because there's going to be a lot of people coming from the same place as you, throwing ideas out there, doing whatever it is that they need to do in order to get, whatever it is that they're looking for.
If you do think outside of the box and you are trying to approach a company that doesn't typically work with smaller brands, I mean, you just don't be disappointed if they say no, because they might not really get what you're trying to do, and but that doesn't mean you shouldn't give up. It just means that you shouldn't get discouraged if they say no, because maybe they either they might be nervous, or might be scared, or might just not be the right time, or they might not have the right person working, or whatever. So they just might have no interest at all. It's really trying to find the creative people, the marketing people, the agencies that are working, and if you can find them, obviously you can pitch those ideas to them.